What's going on, people? Welcome to a new series. So pretty much I went out, I bought this little camera. Okay, you can see it streams to my phone. It's sick. And essentially I want to just start uploading sort of just videos like this where I'm just sort of directly talking to you guys. And I think it'll be good because I constantly think all the time, and a lot of my discussions that I have internally, I think they could be useful to people in the real world, which is why I'm recording this. So I have like a list of topics. I might ramble. Some of these first might be a bit, or some of these first videos might be all over the place, might be a bit shit, but that's all cool. So the first topic that I had on this sort of list of topics is ambition versus contentment. Okay, so I myself have always been sort of obsessively ambitious, right? And I'm going to make another video. This is one of the topics on my list about where obsessively ambitious people get that sort of ambitious from, right? Or ambitiousness from. Typically it's going to be from some sort of childhood thing, maybe positive, maybe negative, but we'll talk about that in another video, right? In this video, we're going to be talking about just raw ambition, right? We're not going to talk about where it came from. And then we're going to be relating that to contentment. So when I say ambition, I just mean the want for more, essentially, right? And as I've got a bit older, I've started to notice that if you're always seeking more and wanting to get to the next level, you're never going to be happy, right? It's this stupid facade of sort of all this shit online where you see people going for the Lambos and the Dubai and this, that, and the other, and that sort of hedonistic approach to life, which is more, 20 cars, private jet, blah, 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 which again, if you want that, there's no issue with that. But what you need to fundamentally understand is happiness isn't on the other side of that door, yeah? So being ambitious is important, right? This is sort of what a friend of mine and me were discussing, right? Because he's sort of on the other side, right? He's more on the contentment side. But anyway, I'll get to that in a second. So let's say I'm over here, right? Over here, the ambitious guy, let's just say unhappy in life, really wanting more. And what I noticed is that, again, it's sort of a dead end, right? It's endless. But in my head, I've always thought that contentment breeds laziness, okay? Because if I was content, then I wouldn't want anything. Therefore, I'm not going to put any work in to get anywhere, yeah? So let's flip it on its side. Let's look at from the contentment's perspective. So you got the guy who's content, potentially doesn't want more, so potentially doesn't put any more effort in, any more work in, but is happy with what they have because they're content, right? But they lack the ambition. So that sort of like was my friend. We were talking about this, and we can clash a little bit on these sort of ideas because I'm very just like go. I've got that Asian mentality of like go. Have to be doing something every single minute of the day. No peace, no relaxation, no holiday, just straight work, right? And after this conversation that I was having with him, I started to notice that, cool, neither contentment nor ambition is the answer. It's somewhere in the middle. It's essentially being content with what you have in terms of being happy with what you have, but knowing that if you want more, it's also up for the taking, right? And I think the key message of this is wherever you're at in your journey, right? Whether that is trading, whether that's another business, is to be happy where you are right now. Because take it from me, right? I spent so many years being pissed off that I wasn't in X position or Y position, or I wasn't doing this and I wasn't doing that and I didn't have this and I didn't have that. And it's like, now that I look back on that period, a lot of it is just wasted time being pissed off for nothing, essentially, because I didn't need to be pissed off. I didn't need to be upset. I didn't need to be just unhappy, right? Just enjoy your life. At the end of the day, if you really, and this is what I'd say from the takeaway from this video, is just strip down and try and understand what actually makes you happy, right? Because this is quite funny, right? A friend asked me the other day, he goes, or not the other day, maybe a couple months ago, he goes, outside of, let's say, work-related stuff, trading, etc., if that wasn't a part of your life, right, what would you be doing, or what would be making you happy on a daily basis? And for me, progression is essentially what made me the most happy. I like to improve at things, or be better at things. But when he asked me that question, like I said, a couple months ago, I was like, shit, if you take away all this stuff, I almost feel directionless. So I've sort of weaved my whole identity into this work type thing, right? Not to say I don't have hobbies or like anything outside of like trading related stuff. There are other things that I will do, but that was at the time where my heart really sort of, it's where it was, right? That was my goals, that was my dream, that was where I wanted to be. I didn't think that I would have the contentment in life until I was at these places. But what that question made me realize was that I can have happiness now through contentment, knowing that I can still improve, but also just enjoying the process in the first place. And realistically, in my opinion, those are the people that will get there, right? It's the people that can enjoy the process, because for most people, that's suffering, right? For me, at a point, that was suffering. That was, oh my God, I need to be here. I'm not here. I've done this, whatever. I'm not in this position. And it's like, all of that is just suffering for no reason, because realistically, again, when you go back to first principles and you look at what actually makes you happy, okay, one, I did say progression, but let's say outside of that, right, it's just being with friends, right, socializing. I used to be a magician, right, so I like doing magic to people, for example. Taking up different sports, like I started boxing recently. So all these sort of things were things that did make me happy, that I was neglecting for the pursuit of something that was making me unhappy, if that makes sense. Now, there's nothing wrong with pursuing anything, right, and getting better towards something, but in terms of it consuming you to the point where you're nothing without it, I think that's where the issue stems from. Something where my mind would then flip and make a counter argument. I would always say in my mind, like, oh well, if you're not obsessive about that topic, you're not going to make it, right? Which is a fair argument to make. Maybe the answer to that is be obsessive for a period of time and knowing when to not be obsessive anymore, potentially. But also at the same time, you can be mega dialed in something and still have your mind be free in other places. Because I think the biggest thing I've noticed as I've got a bit older as well is that in a lot of cases, less is more. Because, and a lot of other successful guys say this as well, is that realistically, let's say your goal is funding, or I don't know, even in businesses as to acquire customers, for example. Typically, there's only going to be maybe 3 actions that you need to take to get towards your goal. Okay, so like, for example, let's say if you were trying to do content creation, you would know that, cool, the main task that I would need to do today to record a video, to get better at recording videos, to get more fluent in front of the camera, so then go ahead and build my business, right? You don't need to be obsessed and your whole life to be wrapped around then just making videos, yeah? The other thing that you can think about as well, that my mind's sort of racing towards now, is that you do see a lot of people that are ultra obsessive. Like, let's say you go down sort of like the Mr. Beast route of someone who obviously was analyzing like every single thumbnail on his come up to figure out exactly what style of video to make, etc., etc. But he's publicly sort of said that he's miserable, right? So if you do want the billionaire status, then fine, fair enough. You might want to be obsessive in that sense. But equally, you may just want to be comfortable in another country, living life on your own terms. And I think having balance and having understanding of what makes you happy is important to get to that goal, essentially. Yeah, so we'll wrap it up there. I feel like I'm waffling towards the end. So with these as well, it's like I'm not really, I mean, some of them maybe I'll be giving direct advice, but sometimes I'm just giving you my thought trail, because I think quite a lot. I always used to think it was a bit of like a curse, like, oh my God, all I ever do is just think obsessively about things. But I think the good thing about it is that it's allowed me to be quite opinionative from different points of views. I'm quite good at stepping out of my position and then trying to analyze it from different points of views. Because, for example, with this one of my friends, where I thought he was more on the content side, if I didn't take a minute to try and understand his perspective on life, then I wouldn't be able to essentially better my life and think, you know what, that's a good characteristic to take from him, etc., etc., etc. So yeah, we'll leave it there. Like I said, I feel like I'm rambling on a little bit. And yeah, just look out for a couple more of these videos. I'm going to be recording them a lot more often.